David Johnston.
Very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's a curious motion today because next week we will get the decision on this very issue. But leaving that aside for a moment, last year I spoke in a debate about triple lock. And at that point, we had the highest level of basic state pension relevant to earnings in 34 years. And at that point, it had increased by £2,050. That's now £2,300. And along with auto-enrolment, it has been one of the most significant policy decisions taken by this government, not just in pension policy, but actually in domestic policy much more broadly, because in auto-enrolment's case, we now have over 19 million people who are auto-enrolled in workplace pensions, which is a fantastic achievement. But of course, it's not just triple lock by which we support our pensioners, generous though that has been. We know that pensioners spend a higher proportion of their money on energy, and there we see that they have had a £400 reduction. They've had a energy price guarantee, which will save on average £700. They've had a winter fuel payment topped up by a pensioner cost of living payment worth up to another £600. And we have to not just think about pensioners as one big group, but as we have to think about the poorest pensioners as well. And there we see a further cost of living payment of £650. We see cold weather payments if their homes drop below a certain temperature. And underpinning both those things, we see pension credit, which, yes, we've got to get more people to claim pension credit who are eligible for it, because it's worth an average £3,300, which is yet more support. So time and time again, both on triple lock and on the other support the government gives, it has been very generous and constantly thought about how best to support pensioners. But when it comes to Labour motions and Labour frontbench speeches, I look for what's not there as much as I do what is there. Now, this motion is very specifically about keeping triple lock for the coming year, and as I say, we'll get the decision next week. It doesn't say where to get the money from that, which, okay, leave that to the side for one now, although it's several £billion. More importantly, from my point of view, it doesn't say anything about what should happen beyond that. And so I listened carefully to the Shadow Secretary of State to see what his view about pension policy in the future might be, and I'm afraid I didn't hear very much. And the reason I think that's notable is because week in, week out in this House, what we're hearing from the front benches, the next Labour government will do this, the next Labour government will do that, but we didn't hear that today on pension policy. Now, pensions are the second highest category of expenditure after health. So a party that hopes to form a government ought to have a view about what it wants to do for pension policy that isn't just, well, we'll continue Conservative policies, or isn't just, well, we'll support all the expenditure, but we wouldn't support any reductions that happen in any other area. And if the answer, and I hope we might hear this from the Shadow Minister when he winds up about what Labour's view of pensions might be, if the answer, I have a lot of time for him, if the answer is, well, we'd have to look at the finances in order to understand what we will do, that's precisely what the government has been doing in order to form its decision
great point.
next week.